Blink-182 is one of those bands where every individual member is famous. Travis Barker in particular is a pop-punk icon. But what's often overlooked when it comes to Blink-182 is the other drummer, Scott Raynor. Scott was the original drummer in Blink from parts of 92 to 98, and he appears on the band's first two records, Cheshire Cat and Dude Ranch. Scott was fired from the band in the spring of 1998, and subsequently, Travis Barker joined the band. The first record Travis Barker appears on with Blink-182 is Enema of the State. One of the songs that was written during the sessions for Enema is Man Overboard, which many believe is a song about Scott Raynor. The sessions for Enema of the State took place between January to March of 1999. This is less than a year after Scott was fired from the band. Keep in mind that Scott was a member of the band for 6 years, and for a lot of people, being in a band is like being in a relationship. A 6-year relationship is not typically something you forget quickly. And so with that in mind, if you listen to the lyrics for Man Overboard, it does seem like it's about Scott Raynor, but I want to be clear that this is speculation because the band has never publicly addressed whether the song is actually about Scott or not. For a bit of context, let's go over the details of what led to Scott being let go by the band and how that resonates with the lyrics from Man Overboard. If you're new to my channel and you like rock and roll, by the way, make sure to subscribe for more. Everything I do here is 100% DIY, and your subscription does go a long way to help this channel grow. Dude Ranch was released on June 17, 97. Starting in the summer of 97, Blink began touring heavily. As a matter of fact, the band was on tour for about 9 months straight between parts of 97 and 98. The heavy touring schedule began taking its toll on the band, and tensions started to rise. Now, it's important to note that there were already some pre-existing differences between the members of the band, but the heavy touring schedule began to exacerbate things. For example, Scott Raynor, who was the youngest member of the band, had been expressing for years that he wanted to go to college at some point, and as a matter of fact, he'd sometimes bring homework with him on tour in order to try to complete his high school diploma. You wouldn't think that the drummer from Blink-182 would be doing homework on tour, but it happened. However, if you consider how young Scott was at the time, it does make a bit more sense. Scott Raynor was only 16 years old when Cheshire Cat was released and 19 when Dude Ranch came out, whereas Tom was 21 and Mark Hoppus was 25. In February of 98, the bandmates actually got into a physical fight. This happened in Nebraska at the end of the Snowcore 98 tour, Snowcore having been a touring festival sort of like Warped Tour was. After the Snowcore tour, the band had a brief US West Coast tour, and it was during this US West Coast tour that Scott Raynor suffered a, quote, tragic loss in his family. He subsequently left the tour temporarily to go visit his family back home. As such, Blink needed a drummer to fill in for Scott. As mentioned, 1997 was the year Blink released Dude Ranch, and it was also in 97 that the band Aquabats released their record, The Fury of the Aquabats. At the time, Aquabats' drummer was Travis Barker. And as a matter of fact, Aquabats and Blink-182 toured together while Travis was still in Aquabats. When Scott Raynor stepped away from the band to deal with whatever was happening in his family, Tom and Mark brought in Travis as his temporary replacement. Travis learned Blink's entire set in just 45 minutes before his first show with the band. Travis, Mark, and Tom clicked as a three-piece, but even so, this lineup was only temporary, as Scott Raynor was still the official drummer in the band. Scott's first show back with Blink was on May 1st, 1998, when the band played the Hollywood Palladium. Despite the time apart from each other, when Scott rejoined the band, things did not get better. As a matter of fact, the internal band struggles began to get worse. As a means of coping with all the tension, Scott was drinking heavily at the time. Following a short tour of New Zealand and Australia, which ended on May 25th, 98, Mark and Tom told Scott that he either had to quit drinking or go to rehab. To Scott's credit, he actually agreed to do both. Despite this, however, according to Scott Raynor, he was fired from the band anyways. Even so, Scott has said that he does not feel any ill will towards the band, and he even went as far as to say Tom and Mark were right to fire him. That takes a lot of strength of character to be able to say that, so I think Scott deserves credit for that. Now, as mentioned, the sessions for Enema of the State took place between January to March of 1999. This is less than a year after Scott was let go from the band. When you keep that in mind and you look at the lyrics for Man Overboard, it does seem like the song is about Scott Raynor. Some of the lyrics from the song include, so sorry it's over, now you're a stranger, can't say I miss him around, loss of a good friend, left you in the bar to try and save face. Again, it should be noted that Scott Raynor was a teenager when he was in Blink, and because he's kept a low profile since his time with the band ended over 2 decades ago, there's really not much information about him out there. So, for all we know, he could have been sober ever since his time with Blink ended. Furthermore, to the best of my knowledge, Scott has never addressed publicly whether he thinks this song is about him or not, or what he thinks about the song in general. It'd be cool one day to hear from him what he thinks about this track and in general to hear his side of the story on things because, again, there's not much info out there about Scott post-Blink. It's been over 2 decades since Scott's time with the band ended, so I would hope that things between Scott and the guys are good at this point. Because Scott is on the first 2 records, and there are, of course, ongoing royalties, etc. from those albums, I would think that Scott has in one way or another had some kind of contact with Mark and Tom over the years, but who knows. In any case, despite Man Overboard being written during the Enema sessions, the song was not recorded for that record. The song was officially released on September 2nd, 2000 as the lead single from Blink's live album, The Mark, Tom, and Travis Show. It was produced by Jerry Finn and recorded in July of 2000.